Hey everybody, welcome back to Tavern Talks. I am your wonderful barkeeper and host tonight. And tonight we have another favorite guest of mine. Met her just a few months ago through Candela Obscura. And so I felt bringing on Jenel, or otherwise known as Boss Jellybean, to talk about how she's created characters and then just finding out that she's a writer and that she's doing all these other crazy things within the community. So we're going to get a little bit of an insight on everything she's working on and maybe some dive in on how she's created some of her characters, because for me personally, her Candela character was not only absolutely terrifying, but also a lot of fun to play with, because I was super excited to have you on as part of the crew for sure. Before we start, of course, give you kind of a quick chance to just tell us who you are, what you're doing in the community, and then we'll start asking questions and just kind of have a little chit chat. Of course, for our new people that are on the channel, you can ask any questions in the chat room. It's going to pop up on our screen and we'll answer those questions as they come in. It's all you.
Right, cool. Hi everybody, I'm Jenel, or Boss Jellybean. I am working on the Castleton project right now on Winter's Tales. Player as Beira Armadium, and also in charge of the website and the web team over there. I'm also the DM for Feydark Eclipse, which is a two-party campaign split where they're on two different planes of reality fighting the same big bad evil guy. One is in the Shadowfell, one is in the Feywild, and that is an all female and non-binary cast. And then, I don't know, there's so many other projects of it. We just finished the Candela campaign, the Obsidian Syndicate Chapter 1 over on Twisted Fates channel, where I was playing Alice. The
We're gonna get into
split
Alice tonight.
personality.
What was going on with that? I have no idea, but we're gonna get into Alice tonight. That character scared me.
My little baddie. What else do I got going on? Oh yeah, I'm also about to publish a Candela Kickstarter with the group that is me, Andy Margomods Games, and Johnny Talking XP. We've kind of made our little publishing company called Three Quills Publishing, and we're going to be doing a Candela Kickstarter for Candela Week coming up.
Okay.
And yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff I'm sure I'll remember later.
Sure, I'll remember. So, yeah, that's awesome. And good luck on all of that because that's a lot.
There's so much. My list of to-do things is so long.
Yeah, I feel that. 100% I feel that. And my list keeps growing.
Yeah, I'm like one of those people that I could be swamped, like super busy, but if someone asks me to do a project, like I'm incapable of saying no.
It's taken me 3 years to get to the point where I'm like, no, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I gotta learn that.
Yeah, good luck. It's a hard thing to figure out. Trust me, I'm still learning to this day. I told myself one project this year. I took, and then right after I did that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna run Tavern Talks for a few months just to kind of have a break. And then as soon as that happened, Gen Con came to me and was like, hey, do you want to be the GM for Monday nights? And I was like, well, I can't pass this opportunity up. And then, of course, that went straight into reaching out to Northwolf, who was like, hey, I need players for Candela. And I was like, well, why not?
Gosh, that universe has exploded.
Oh my God, it's so good.
People in it now.
It's so good. And it's so much fun. And it's not just... I've already started talking to him about maybe doing a side project with Candela as part of the Misfits as well. We kind of blend the whole series together, that kind of fun stuff. But we'll see where that goes. That's going to be 2022 project, or 2025 project. Goodness, went backwards. But yeah, so that's what's happening with that. So let's break down some characters, shall we? Because I think but I think before we do that, I'm going to ask 3 questions that I ask all of my guests. The first one is a very simple question. When did you actually get into TTRPGs?
Senior year of high school.
Okay. Like 3 years ago?
Was
like
adorable. 2007?
Okay, so you're not much younger than I am, so that makes me feel a little better. Because I talk to a lot of people in the community nowadays, and they're like, I've been in it for like 3-5 years, and I was like, oh God, I feel like the old person now.
Yeah. Well, I will say though, I took a really long break. So I started in high school.
Same.
And then we played a little bit into college and then stopped because my group of friends like went to the 4 corners of the world.
I feel that.
And then, gosh, I can't remember what year. 2016, 2015. One of our friends like messaged us out of nowhere and was like, we do not hang out enough anymore. We are going to start playing D&D again online.
Heck yeah.
Like, this is happening now.
Why not?
And that was around the time that I started listening to the Adventure Zone and really got into Critical Role and stuff. And so that got me into 5th edition because before that we were doing 3.5e. So yeah, that is the answer. Sorry.
Hey, no, that's a perfectly good answer. And it's very similar to my own. I went from college and high school playing for many years, and then I took a hiatus when I joined the military for a short period of time. Then I had a kid and got married and all that fun stuff of life. And then on my first trip away from my family, I went over to Korea, and that's where I fell back in love with TTRPGs. So about 2015... 2016. So
Wait, so you played D&D in Korea? I need to know what.
Yeah. Yeah. So I played Dungeons and Dragons in Korea while I was deployed there for a year. So I had a small group of people that we would play every Friday. I think it was every Friday or Saturday. We actually took over our conference table for our unit we would just come in evenings when nobody was in there. We had keys to everything, so we just took over the conference table and played D&D.
That's so sweet.
So yeah, and then I came home pretty much and told my wife at the time that, as much as I wanted to just change right back to the way I was, I realized that D&D was such an important part of my life because it helped me with my mental issues and things like that. So I was like, I can't get rid of this anymore, I said. And for many years, it kind of slowly grew until it got to this point in COVID and things exploded. So that's what happens.
TTRPGs are definitely my coping mechanism.
Same, 100%. This question, before we ask the other two questions, I'm going to tell you, it sounds like for the both of us, neither one of us are good at this. So,
okay, good.
How do you juggle work-life balance? Any pro tips for burnout? I was like,
I don't.
I don't. I just get burned out and keep moving.
The answer is I took a nap from 6 to 7 today before this because I was like, I'm about to pass out from working too much.
Same.
So no, if someone else has recommendations for that, please let me know.
Yeah. We're just going to build an entire group of people that are waiting on that answer because none of us have it.
No, I cannot help.
Cannot help. Please ask an adult. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm bad at adulting.
Yeah, same.
So.
All right. Second question is, when did you move from D&D to something else? Or have you?
Yes.
I know personally you have because I've seen your Instagram and things like that. But when did that happen?
Probably, I think a lot of people have the same answer during the OGL debacle.
Okay.
When they did that whole thing where they're like, no to third-party creators.
No to third-party creators.
We're gonna backtrack on that.
Yeah. And now they're forward tracking again with the new edition, and I'm just like, kind of. We'll see where it goes.
But yeah, I got into. I think the first thing I branched out into was Vampire the Masquerade. Because this is such a funny answer. When I was younger, like in high school, I really liked the video game.
So to blow your mind even more on that, on the idea of vampire, that was actually the first TTRPG I ever played.
Really? That is interesting.
So I grew up in northeastern Ohio, and there's a large campus up there called Kent State University. And I had a friend of mine who was 19 at the time. I was 15, 16, maybe around that age. Okay. And then everybody else in that group was 20s and above. So it was just me and him that were young kids, and then everybody else was adults. He goes, "Hey, my dad lives up here. I'm going to go up and play this thing. Do you want to come up for the weekend and hang out?" And I was like, "Sure." He's like, "Meet me at Kent State campus. Have your mom drop off at the campus at about 7 o'clock." I was like, "All right, cool." I pull up, 45 people in LARP costumes, dressed like vampires. And my mom's like,
dude, teenage me would have been all fucking over.
Oh, I was. I played a Nosferatu bodyguard for a Giovanni. That was my character.
Ideal.
Yeah.
If I had known that was a thing at that age, like, done.
Yeah, so yeah, and it was funny because this was right after. No, this was in between. So there was a couple years later, there was the Kent State shootings. Which was really bad. And we had to actually write out a whole petition that stated we were still going to be allowed to play because you've got people walking around in trench coats with plastic guns. Like, it's not...
Dressed like vampires.
Yeah, dressed like vampires, got the fangs in, eyeliner, everything's... Yeah, it's... Some people are in, like, full prosthetic. Like, it gets intense for some.
I'm so jealous I haven't had this experience, though. Just like this over here, like, this sounds amazing.
Welcome.
I had a friend who, she went to Savannah College of Art and Design, SCAD, way before I did. She's actually the reason I ended up going there later. But, and she ran a club there that did a LARP. but it was World of Darkness still, but it was for Changeling.
Oh.
And
Yeah, so
they used
in
I think that was my
that
first
time
intro into World of
frame,
Darkness though.
so in that time frame though, World of Darkness was not owned by Renegade Games yet. It was owned by White Wolf.
Yes.
So that was when World of Darkness was messed up.
Oh,
So
okay.
because it was vampire and then werewolf and then changeling and
Yeah.
then mage, and the more you added, the more broken the entire system just becomes.
Sure.
Hunter.
They all have their own rules, and it is hard to.
And you can't blend them as well as you think you can.
Yeah,
and mage breaks
actually,
everything.
I was trying to for another project that we might be doing next year, which is going to be Hawaii by Night, which is slowly potentially turning into just the Pacific by Night.
Probably easier.
Easier. We have so many. There's like over 40 people I've reached out to about it, so
Holy goodness,
it's growing.
Yeah, I really want to play a game
was...
for Vampire. I have not played in years, and I would be really
I'll
fun to have
play
back into it.
Games, then.
Yeah, that's fine. Just let me know when.
I was trying to combine Changeling and Vampire, and I thought it was going to be easy, and it's not. It's not easy.
No. And don't even think about. I don't even think they have it anymore. But Mage the Ascension was.
I've seen it.
Oh my
I've
goodness.
never actually played it or anything.
Chronomancers alone broke any game I've ever played. Like the fact that you can be a time mage and mess with every little bit of time in the world is just insane. As much as I can mess with this piece of time or this piece of time and it doesn't change the problem. And you're like, no, it's not how that works, but sure. Yeah. So yeah, that's my give and take of Vampire the Masquerade, which was my first actual TTRPG. But yeah.
Oh, Cloud Kill Connor asked in the chat if there is a decent VTM tutorial. I learned by watching actual plays, so I would just recommend watching LA by Night.
LA by Night,
which is great.
Any of the actual plays are great. There's also a podcast out there, but it's kind of, you'd have to listen through it. It's got Mark Meir, it's got Dot from Cobalt Press, and a couple other really popular people in the community that, what is it called? If I could see it, I would know immediately what it is. But yeah, it's ran by the guys who ran Cthulhu, the Illuminate. Oh my God, the Illuminati, but it's like called the like Cthulhu Illuminati type thing.
Cthulhu.
Yeah. There's a word I'm looking for, and I can't think of what it is.
Those are two very difficult words, and putting them together seems complicated.
No, I'm looking.
I got into LA by Night because I saw a video of Brennan Lee Mulligan dressed up as a sexy evil priest in it, and I was like, I'm gonna watch this. That is.
Yeah.
And it ended up being one of my favorite APs, though. It's very well done, and they have a lot of guests on and stuff, and it's very good. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what it's called now.
It is gonna just bother you all.
Oh yeah, it's totally. So as we're asking questions and grabbing from the chat, I'm gonna slowly be looking from the side of my computer, trying to figure out what this is called.
I get it. I respect it.
Yeah. So third question, of course, is when did you pick up the mantle of an actual game master? That's always my fun one.
Oh, pretty early.
Okay.
Like when we got back into it in like 2015, my friend JJ ran a game, and then immediately after, I was like, all right, I'm next. And I did the thing that I feel like a lot of people mess up with is I started with homebrew. I got too excited, and I built an entire world and homebrewed everything. I made the most ridiculous magic items, like that were like 90s nostalgia shit. Like I made Scooby snacks and and like the Sailor Moon transformation wand and just ridiculous shit. But we got through. I think we finished that campaign, and then I then started looking at actual Wizards of the Coast modules and DM'd Descent into Avernus, and that was probably my favorite campaign that I've ever run, though. I loved that a lot. That was
I've never played through Avernus. I've read it. I think I have it somewhere over there, but
so
I've read it.
Good.
Yeah, it's called Chilluminati. That's what it's called.
Okay. That's not as
but it's called, the actual podcast I was thinking of is called Pod by Night. It's a Vampire the Masquerade actual play, and then the actual show is called Stitch of Fate. So, but yeah, they've got 2 seasons so far. But if you like Mark Meir, who does Commander Shepard for Mass Effect, he's the one he's one of the characters in it, and it's really
He's
good.
also from LA by Night.
He is also from LA by Night, and he also runs the new.
Sire.
He also runs the new Call of Cthulhu for Chaosium. Like, he's everywhere right now.
He's everywhere.
Yeah.
Just hopping all over the space.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so, yeah. I feel you on the homebrew thing. I think I didn't do my first actual module until I moved into running on stream.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did homebrew for most of my home games, wrote classes, wrote races, did the whole history. Like, I've always been a big fan of dragons, like, since I was, like, this big. Like, I feel like...
who isn't?
Right? So I wrote it around the idea that the world originally was created by the 2 big ones, so Tiamat and Bahamut. And there was a yin and yang of struggle, and during the first war of the dragon, they actually tore Tiamat apart, which made the actual colors of the dragons.
Have you read Fizban's?
No.
I
haven't.
Let me tell you, my dude.
Let me tell you, this is about close what it is.
That's what it is.
Yeah, never read it.
In that one, it's Tiamat and Bahamut made Sardior, who is like the first dragon, and then they created the material plane together, and then the Warbringer gods, which are all the gods from the other planes, came and took the world from them, basically. Which I wrote a module and like fine-tuning it right now, and ran a campaign called The First World, which was based on that world like after the war, but before it was finished. So like all the Warbringer gods had gone into a slumber. Yeah, like a hiatus. And Bahamut was like acting as like a guardian and stuff, and then all the Warbringer gods started like waking up in it, and like the players had to decide at the end of it like who they were siding with and how like the multiverse would be created. It's fun. It's a very fun campaign.
Wonder if is it a high level?
It goes.
Okay.
It like spans full art. It goes up to like 15.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a fun one, and that's like fully based on Fizban's Elegy for the First World. Yeah, Elegy.
Awesome. So yeah, you seem to, being, even though you've been in and out of the TTRPG community, you know a ton about Dungeons and Dragons as a lore, and you and I have already went down our rabbit hole for Baldur's Gate, and you know, it's just is what it is.
When I first got into like the Wizards of the Coast lore, I just dove in so heavy.
So this sounds like other people I know, like myself, that just
just really like nosedived into that. Yeah, I don't know. It's great. I love being able to find all the little connections and things. Like I was writing another campaign that I was basing off of Descent into Avernus that was Mordenkainen's Inferno, and which like halfway through me writing it, they came out with whatchamacallit, it's not officially by Wizards of the Coast, but it's by one of the writers.
Which book?
It's like very new. This is gonna bother me that I've completely forgotten.
Very new. Now I'm like, ooh, what am I missing?
Chains of Osmodeus.
Oh yeah.
which is the same thing I was writing. And so I was just like, well, this is going to the trash.
Right. That's where this is my own homebrew for like how I run dragons, but at the same time I was like, I have a feeling this has already been done somewhere, so I'm just going to ignore it. But yeah, so the goal for mine was as though that there was only one of every color ever in the world. And Bahamut, instead of being torn apart, released the energy to be the metallic dragons, and then each one placed themselves as kings of one of the kingdoms as protectors for the mortal realm. Pretty much was how it was, how I was writing it at the time. That was like 4 years ago, and I haven't picked it up in like 2 years. But besides the point,
I feel like we have very similar concepts in our thing.
Yeah, it is what it is.
You after this.
Welcome everybody. I got a good good group coming in. Just here to serve my eternal Jellybean queen.
My entire Castleton family.
Aw, thanks everybody. If you like this interview, go check out AJ's as well. That was out. She was out here
AJ's
2 or 3 weeks ago,
good.
I think. It keeps moving faster. And I only got one more before Gen Con this year, which is crazy. And then that's gonna change everything. We in here. Awesome. Let's see here. So, of course, for new people that are coming in, you can ask questions inside the chat. There's no issue for that. We're just going to break down some characters tonight because I think this is going to be a lot of fun with your variety of characters. Which one would you like to dive into first? You've got a
I feel like
boatload
we
of
should
them.
start with the one you probably know the best, which
is
Alice.
Yeah, which is Alice. So for those that have not had a chance or know, both of us were in the first chapter for a Candela Obscura stream just a couple weeks ago, and or finished a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say it feels like 7 years ago from all the trauma that
God
in that campaign.
Yeah,
it was so heavy.
It's so heavy.
North does a phenomenal job.
He does.
DMing Candela.
He does a phenomenal job dealing with Candela.
Each episode is such an emotional journey. It feels like you've run a marathon by the end of those episodes.
I don't know. The last 2 or 3, by the end of it, we're all laying back in our chair, can this just be over? I'm dying over here.
And then we always stay on the chat for a solid 2 to 3 hours afterwards to decompress.
Decompress. Yeah, it's like a therapy session after it.
Yeah.
Trying to fix ourselves. So, without giving any spoilers, because there is talk that we are going to come back sooner or later.
Sure.
At least you guys will. I don't know where I'm at yet. I'm still trying to figure this out.
You are going to have your own adventure in Purgatory. We've been over this.
Yeah, we've been over this.
On a Sam and Dean Winchester adventure.
With a 19-year-old. That's what
with a 19-year-old fucking hell or whatever. It's going to be fine. I can't wait to dive back into that.
Oh, I can't either. Oliver is such a fun character for me. I didn't expect to really start falling in love with the character, and then I started to just dive in deep, and now I'm wondering where I'm floating around in, because, I didn't know where I was heading. I had to make a decision, and the decision I made just pushed me somewhere. But we'll figure out when that comes to that.
I just remember, obviously Alice would have touched the mirror if she were there. North did the smart thing pulling me out of that seat.
Yeah, you touched everything. Jeez.
Well, okay, that was the defining characteristic of Alice. Was if there's weird shit, she's gonna touch it.
Yeah. I think after episode 1, that was just Oliver's well, that's weird. Here comes Alice.
To be fair, though, my main ability with that Candela character was anytime I took bleed, I got to find out information about the source of it. So, mechanically, that was what I was built to do.
Yeah, right.
Does it translate into making a super creepy occultist? Yes.
Yeah, no, you definitely played the cultist very well. So what was... I know you and I talked about this, and we talked about this when they released the round table that we did for Chapter 1. But what was your inspiration for Alice?
So originally, I went into it with the concept of I wanted to do a gender bent Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Okay. That makes sense.
And then... Checks out.
Checks out. Well.
And then we were just talking about Supernatural, but my like acting, I guess, or improv aspect of it that I wanted to like test out was I've always been a huge fan of in Supernatural how the characters who are possessed by demons, like those actors have to switch so completely personality-wise between these two different characters all the time, and I was always so impressed with the people who could do that really well.
You said,
and I
why don't I try
wanted to
it?
take a crack at it. I was like, this seems like a fun challenge. I want to do it.
Yeah.
And then I threw the Irish accent in there because I hate myself clearly. You guys know that before every stream I was like, I had the video up of like an Irish accent, like, and I would practice.
Yeah.
So it was so fucking hard for me, everybody. It was so hard to nail down.
Every session, you'd be like, hold on, I'm stepping away for a moment.
Like, I gotta say all my practice.
And she turns the mute off, and we're just watching her mouth going like this.
Yeah, that was like the original inspiration for it. And then when we had all gotten together and started talking, you know, we found out that me and Johnny pretty much knew the system well because we had jumped on it like the second it was released. And then almost everybody else wasn't as familiar with it. So we came up with the idea that me and Johnny would be these veterans from an old circle that died, taking care of the newbies, because we thought that was like a fun thing to like play into who knew the system and who didn't. And
it worked out really well.
Yeah, it did. And then when we started like going back and forth about it, he was telling me about his backstory where he had killed somebody, and I was like, oh, what if that's the person who's in me? And then after that, we were like, what if we added another layer of trauma, which is what if they were in a relationship and they're not anymore because of this? Which led to...
Interesting enough, because now I didn't realize that Alice is technically tied to Oliver, too.
Yes.
So
that's why I asked if... I had DM'd you and asked if you knew who Johnny killed or not, if you had been there. Because then Annie would know who you are.
Yeah, so I was the one laying on the ground, knocked out unconscious, that he pulls from the rebel.
Yes, so you guys never technically met, which is why she didn't recognize you.
Right.
Otherwise, I was going to fuck with you too.
You could have, and I would have been like, who are you? Like...
Oh, shoot. Okay, so Arthurius Vampire Himbo, who's in the chat, so we're going to be doing a prequel season on Twisted Fates for the Candela Circle that me and Johnny were in that died. And Arthurius is playing one of them.
Oh, okay.
So we had come up with this backstory of, like, these two best friends that we had that died.
Yeah.
And then fucking North is like, okay, well, what if we get Andy Margot Mods and Arthurius Vampire Himbo to play them? And I'm like, you can't put my actual best friends as the best friends that died. Like, wait, that makes it so much more emotional for me. I hate it and I love it.
It's wonderful.
So, like, the second we did that, and then I think, like, the next episode, me and Annie had a conversation, but that's when we had the conversation in the bar where we were both blaming each other.
Right.
Like, ourselves or whatever. And I started full-on crying. I was like, well, this is because I'm fucking thinking about Arthurius and Andy being dead or something. Like, that it's my fucking fault. So, like,
yeah.
Made it too real.
Made it too real.
Too real.
Too close to home. Too close to home.
But yeah, that character was very fun to play.
So how much did you actually, for people who are either looking at Candela or looking at creating a character in Candela, how much would you say you actually provided in content to the Lightkeeper?
I mean, me and Johnny had a full Google Doc.
Okay.
That we had pretty much written everything out in and sent it over. But you don't need to. You can, I mean, I think Candela is a great system for I don't have a memory, plug it in.
Yeah.
Stuff. So, like, if you don't want to come up with it, there's so much cool shit in Candela that I think it would be very easy for a DM Lightkeeper to work with a very minimal background. But it also has, like, It also works very well for if you want to write an entire fucking novel and send it over. Like, very similar to D&D. You can do as much or as little as you want. But we had, I would say we did a mid amount. We had, like, a 1 page, basically, for both of our characters and all the connected stuff between them. And it was mostly, like, in, like, bullet point form so that we could just look at our notes to, like, reference things. Like Arcadia Aether Arts.
God.
The
you can look that entire season. I didn't say that once because I was like, I'm gonna mess this up immediately.
I don't think I did either. Johnny's the one who kept bringing it up, and every time he did, North's face was just like, "Why would you do this?"
Yeah, he's like the art, the art studio. That's all we would hear. The art studio, yeah, we're not gonna try to pronounce that at all.
Oh, I just saw in the chat that War-Torn Knight said, I'm starting to think it's not your characters, Jenel, it's your... Yeah, Jenel has impulse control. So all of my characters also have impulse control. That is... me and my characters cannot be in a place and not touch the shiny red button. So I just lean into it. You'll notice I never have a reserved character.
Like no, I'm gonna bring the chaos. It's okay. Just project this one.
I am a chaos character, and that's a choice for my sanity.
We literally had a guy at my office, and this is off of D&D, of course. We were on an inspection down in Texas, and he, sure enough, oh, what's that button do? Beep. I was like, yo, it's a fire alarm. What are you doing? Like, sets off the entire fire alarm for the whole
Okay, I've never done anything that bad.
And then he's like, oh, there's the silence button. And he hits the silence button trying to stop it, and it gets louder. And I was like...
Oh, good.
I was like, oh no, what just happened? Like, so now we have a giant red, like, we printed out that just says do not touch, and it's a red button. We stuck it above his cubicle. Good. I was like, anytime you ever feel like you have to, just hit that. Like, leave it. Don't touch anything else. Vera is a bastion of impulse control and self-preservation.
Lies. It's lies.
Well, let's dive into this one now, shall we?
Alright, so in Castleton, I play Vera Armadium, who is one of the princesses of Arma. And literally last session I was in, AJ stopped the roleplay for a minute to tell me that my character was making bad choices. Because one of the people I was going on a date with basically just was like, here, come into this back alley, we're gonna go ditch what we were gonna go do and go do something else. And I was like, that sounds great. Just fucking fell wet. And she basically gave like a lecture to the chat and was like, please do not do this based on the fun that these two characters are about to have. Okay, my reasoning for this...
Hold on, let me give you the reason.
I have reasoning for this, which is that her build is that she can get out of pretty much anything. Like, I built her as an escape artist. She has Misty Step, she has Zephyr Strike, she has wings, she's very much so...
Get out of town.
Yeah. So she's overly fucking confident also because she's a princess, but out of the entire royal family, she has the least responsibilities. It's a matriarchy.
Right.
So she doesn't have like the pressure that the men in the family have on her. And then she's the second in line. So she's not the one who's like prepping to be the empress or anything. So she's like the party child of the four of them.
Yeah.
And she's overconfident, and it's like it's a lot. It's like a princess
and you're
complex,
and you're a demigod, and like this like
you like it's just yeah. So that's my reasoning for it. I do not advise other people to do that or use her as a role model because she makes terrible decisions. But yeah. So,
this is great.
Very similar to the Alice Touches Everything. Vera just goes everywhere.
It's the party girl. You know, she's out doing her own thing. Doesn't care what other people like. Yeah, let's go down this dark alley and skip everything else. Like,
yeah, don't tell my family where I am, and it's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to remember this stuff because I've only seen up to episode 3 or 2, so because nothing else is released yet. So, but yeah.
but yeah, it's a lot of content to get through. Those episodes are long. But there's so many people involved.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, which I think everyone in the chat does know because it's my entire fucking Castleton cast.
And the cat just keeps climbing too. It just keeps going.
Hi everybody, thank you for showing. You
Yeah,
guys are
thank
so
you.
supportive. I love you all.
Thank you.
But yeah, there's over 115 players right now. 150 people involved total for like, if you count artists and web team and all the volunteers and stuff. Yeah, it's nuts. It's such a big.
Yeah.
It's also,
and you have one game master, which I envy AJ for that
AJ
amount.
Is a mad woman. She is just so inspiring. I don't know how she does it. She's amazing.
Between her and Northwolf, I am like ready to ramp up my gaming again, and I know that's gonna come with consequences because of life and other things, but yeah. So curious question then, because for something like that where there's 100 and some players, how much content were you provided before you built your character?
Oh, so another thing that's crazy impressive about AJ, she had one-on-one Zoom calls with every single person who made a character. And one of the most fun character creation sessions I've ever had, she had the little, oh my gosh, what the hell are they called? When you're in elementary school, they're like these paper things.
Oh, the fortune teller.
Yes. So she had that made out. There were 2 different ones, and she asked you about your play style for D&D to place you in different groups.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was very fun. And I went into it, me and Gloria, Glow Pinksta on socials, went into it, and we had bonded in the chat over the fact that we both like the A Court of Thorns and Roses romance series.
Okay.
And we were like, what if we played this game as the 2 main sisters from that book?
Oh my.
So all we did was, we did not change the names much. So I'm Veyra in Castleton. Her name is Feyra with an F. Like that is, like, we changed the first name. And Gloria took the original character's name as Nesta, and she just changed it to Desta. We just changed the first letters. And we went to AJ and we were like, hey, we want to play these characters. And
you got people in the chat, okay. They're like, how did I not pick up on that?
So we just kind of went into it with that. Originally, we were going to be like lower born and then like be people who rose up. But after talking to AJ and saying, well, like, we really want wings, though. Can we have bat wings? And she's like, well, I don't know about bat wings, but you could have feathered wings and be the Royals of Arma. I was like, okay, this will be a fun experiment of what if Feyre and Nesta grew up rich. Like, what? So that's like how we like started it. I feel like they've gone so far off in different directions from their original inspo, but that was the original concept.
Hey, that's, I mean, so you said you had a full session down. I'm curious, and I forgot to ask AJ this because I didn't know enough of everything with Castleton, and now actually watching 2 episodes and now getting more information from the other players. How much was provided you about like Arma and the other like the areas of the world, what the concepts were that they were utilizing, or has that been something that's kind of just slowly unfolded as you guys are playing?
So in the beginning, AJ kind of had the political structures set up. So we knew Arma was a matriarchy, we knew Cerule was a patriarchy, and we knew Eldron was a democracy.
Right.
And then that was kind of what we were told, and then we knew that about the castle and the fact that you went there for the matchmaking season. And that's pretty much it. Like, it was very simple. And then in the first 2 weeks, AJ did a bunch of streams on her channel where she did the world building, and we could go into the chat and give suggestions and things. And so the cast and her followers basically helped build the world out.
Oh, cool.
And we got to watch her world building process, which was awesome. And it was
I
a
might
really
have to
unique
go.
experience simply because I've never been like a part
I might
of.
have to go hunt that down.
Yeah, no, they're very cool. She's gotten like very into the trade and resources of each place that hasn't really come up in game yet, but it's so interesting how in depth she goes to building out her worlds. Like she really thinks about the political structures and what resources grow or
Well,
made
yeah,
in
because
place,
otherwise
and
you can't have a kingdom without
Yeah.
resources. So you have to be able to have
like
something to yeah. And that's interesting because I'm like the exact opposite right now because we're playing in Icewind Dale, so there's no resources, and I get to torture my players on the fact that everything is like super expensive and all that fun stuff. Fun fact: I actually didn't enter Castleton with an existing connection to Phineas. The relationship with Orpheum was literally the result of random chemistry between myself and Wes, and my relationship with Phelan wasn't something I learned until a couple
so
weeks before production.
Vampire Himbo plays Phineas, who is the morning talk show
Oh, okay.
uh, for Good Morning Castleton.
The one with
Um,
the horns?
yes.
Hey!
And so he like I remember AJ was looking for like that character and was going around and I mean he's perfect for it.
Oh yeah.
Smashes it.
Great
He's so fucking good at it.
great
And
personality for that,
yeah,
sure.
I was so excited when they got cast in that role. And then we were talking about what he was building and I was like, oh, this is very good. And then yeah, so Orpheum though is like the character who is the mastermind behind the matchmaking season, but
Okay.
he has like some twisted stuff going on that we're not sure what it is yet. He's collecting bodies, we don't know why.
Oh.
And they have a romance that is like so good, so like
Chef's kiss
so
over
evil, so gay, so
there.
amazing. My favorite ship. But yeah, there are so many good characters in that game. I'm so obsessed. I think all of us are. The Castleton brain rot is so real.
Yeah. I can't imagine
I,
being part of the series and then with the amount of people, it's almost like you're running the game inside the game consistently because I'm sure there's always talk of like, oh, what's going to come next? What's this happening? What's happening here?
our Discord is constantly blowing up.
Yeah.
We have so many individual group chats in our Discord, and then we have the main chat, the spoilers chat, and then the super spoilers chat.
There's a super
that we're all constantly talking in. And then like all the different kingdoms have their own chat, all the different families have their own
Oh,
chat.
wow.
So like everyone is
300 messages an hour.
So that's not a joke. That is not a
That's
joke.
crazy.
That's how many messages. Like, I'm gonna return after this interview, and my Discord is gonna have some 3-digit number. Like, it's gonna be crazy.
Well, hopefully there's enough people in here that hopefully that slows down a little bit, but we'll see.
It won't. I'm
It
sure
won't.
it won't.
Everybody's still talking, and even if they're
I'm
in here
sure
listening.
If they're in here, they're also in the Discord. That just means they're at their computer.
Yeah, that's all this means.
Yeah, definitely one of the best projects I've ever been a part of. I've made so many friends, as you can see, in the community through it, and it's been amazing.
Some of us got 2 screens. We got this. Yeah, that's where I live. If I didn't have 2 screens, I wouldn't be able to do half of the stuff I do. So I feel that.
I need a 3rd screen.
I used to have one, but I need to get it remodeled properly so it sits there right. So
Eric just said, or somebody's Heroes Live just said that he has 3. I know you have 3. I've seen your setup. It's insane.
I have 2 large ones at the moment. I need to get a 3rd one.
Yeah, no, I want to be one of those people from like a 90s hacker show where you have like the 6.
Yeah.
You have like, then they're massive and they just surround you and it's all a green light and you're in darkness, and that would be my happy space.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Because I want one that I can mount up here that I can just run what I'm seeing on stream, so I see what I'm looking at, where everything else is kind of like set up, And as a game
do
master, I
have-
feel like I need another screen anyways. Because like I got maps here and Discord and all.
Do you ever have the issue that if you put OBS on a different monitor besides your main one, it lags? Because that happens to me.
Not with
I've
OBS.
noticed.
I had that with Streamlabs for a long time, but when I moved to
Oh,
OBS,
interesting. Okay.
when I moved to OBS, my CPU went from like 89% to 2. And I was like, this is wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I started with OBS.
Yeah, like
and
I have dropped
still use it.
I have dropped 0 frames the entire channel. I'm sitting at 2.7% CPU. Like I can't really complain too much.
Yeah.
So, let's see here. We're only about 10 minutes left, but
Oh, okay.
is there any character you want to dive into?
Ooh, who do I want to dive into? Okay. I will dive into the character who I used on the Abandoned Quest podcast,
Okay.
which is Blitz Avianosets. It was the first Wizards of the Coast module I played in as a player. It was Waterdeep Dragon Heist.
Ooh, I like that one.
And I feel like you're gonna find this very, very entertaining. I did not know anything about the module except that it was called Waterdeep Dragon Heist.
I
didn't
think
know
you
what
and I have already
Waterdeep
talked
was.
about this, but it was funny. So I'm going to continue to let you just have your moment here.
Okay. So I didn't know what Waterdeep was. I didn't know at the time that dragons in Waterdeep meant gold. So I was like, I'm gonna make a character that's perfect for this campaign. She's gonna be a dragon. She's dragonborn. She's gonna have to do with water. So she is from a shipping company, a shipping family. They ended up kind of being like mafia-esque, owned a casino, and also all these shipping companies and stuff. So she's like the captain of her own ship. I ended up making her a blue dragonborn just for kind of like water vibes and lightning and stuff.
Yep.
And then she was a rogue because it said heist. And that was the character concept, and I just fucking ran with it.
Do you want to give the downfalls of this? Because you and I have already talked about this. For those who don't know, Waterdeep is a city. It's not. There is water around, but it's not like.
Luckily, I had a DM who like was very benevolent and gave me a whole like character arc where we did go to. Oh my gosh, I forgot the name of them. The Moonshays,
Okay.
Isles, that are like kind of like off the coast there. And we had like a whole thing there, so I did get to like use that water vehicle proficiency, very briefly. But, and then, one of the funnier things is that in Waterdeep there are wards against dragons, and we interpreted that as Blitz was always itchy. Like she's just like constantly like these stupid wards. But yeah, but I had so much fun with her. Another one of my characters that is a run in, do something before thinking, because as I said, I can't make anything but that. But yeah, she was very fun to play. Everyone in that campaign, you guys can listen to it on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get podcasts, Spotify. It's under Abandoned Quest. Everyone in that campaign was a lawful evil character. We were all business owners. And we ended up turning, in the very early stages of Waterdeep Dragon Heist, Volothamp Gadarim tricks you into giving you a haunted mansion, kind of.
Oh yeah, definitely tricks you into doing.
Tricks you into obtaining a haunted mansion.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of players end up like making it into some kind of business, and we made ours into a casino called the Dragoon Saloon, and Blitz got to design the whole thing. Oh, the other thing is she was obsessed with gold, because I was like, she's a dragon, she's gonna be obsessed with gold. That sounds fun. And so like the whole place is like super gilded, and it was ridiculous, and eventually someone blew it up with a bomb. I guess I shouldn't probably give a lot of spoilers, but it was very fun to play that character, and she went kind of, I guess, probably what's going to be a similar journey as Vera is going to go on, which is like this spoiled kid who needs to learn responsibility. But she got like her teeth kicked in, man,
Oof.
by that plot. Blitz, at one point, the same arc where we got to actually use my water vehicle proficiency, someone impersonating her took the ship, and eventually when we had like that big bad evil guy fight and stuff, she stabbed the doppelganger and it reverted into like her baby cousin, which was fucking traumatizing for me. But yeah, also in that campaign, I got to use, my DM made me a homebrew warlock pack, which was packed. Gosh, I forgot what we actually ended up calling it, but it was like Pact of Gold or something like that.
Okay.
And I could, one of the abilities was I could use any spell that affected water in the same way on gold. So, like, control water, I could use as control gold. And at one point in one of my, like, most badass things I've ever done in a campaign was I used control water to make a surfboard out of gold to get across a battlefield to a big bad evil guy, which was very fun. Also, that's the campaign where I got to do something that I think is on, like, a lot of people's D&D, like, bucket lists, which was I put a bag of holding into another bag of holding.
Boom!
We were fighting a mind flayer. Yes. And they had downed 2 of my party, and they had controlled our barbarian, who was a Dampier, and the build was sick. I could not stand up to it 1v1 to save my life. So what I did was I took my bag of holding and put it into my haversack, and then I threw it like a fucking bomb at the mind flayer, and then I rolled with disadvantage 2 nat 20s to hold on to a pole so I didn't get sucked into the astral plane.
Hey.
It was the
Perfect,
most amazing
right?
thing that's
like,
ever happened to me in D&D. Like, I fucking lost it. Like,
those are those moments where dice start flying, you throw the table, it's great.
Yeah,
fun.
like, it was the best moment ever.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I probably can't top that story for your stream, so it's probably
It's a good time to end it.
But yeah, that was definitely, that was a very fun campaign. I missed that campaign.
Awesome. Whew, that's a good way to end this too, because that was great. So I hope everybody that was here really got a chance to enjoy the character side of things and what we do here at the tavern. Before we go, of course, I'm going to let you kind of give your little spiel at the end, who you are, where they can find you, and then I'll sign us off. So,
all right, I'm going to keep it briefer than in the beginning, but hi, I'm Jenel, or Boss Jellybean all over the internet. You can find me on my Twitch channel, DMing Feydark Eclipse. You can also find me on Winter's Tales in Castleton. You can find me on Twisted Fates in the Candela Obscura series. I'm also going to be publishing a Kickstarter at the end of the month during Candela Obscura Week with the new publishing company that I am in with Andy Murgomod's Games and Johnny from Talking XP. We are publishing under 3 Quills Publishing, and we are going to be releasing a one-shot on Kickstarter called Blackout, which is the first adventure in our I'm going to mess up this word, Candela Nomicon series, where we're going to be doing one-shot adventures for all of the bad guys that are briefly listed in the Candela Core rulebook that I have. Right here.
So official creatures being
so
created.
in there are like 14 different creatures that are like very briefly mentioned in like a little paragraph, and we're going through them and making a one-shot adventure for all of them, and each one is going to be a Kickstarter, and yeah,
awesome.
So very, very exciting.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
If you've watched the Candela chapter that we were on, there's one of those monsters was in the back of my screen at all times. It's great. That's where I pulled that from. I don't know. I was like, this is cool. I'm gonna put him as the baddie that's haunting me from the war. It's great.
It's a great system.
Yeah.
It's a great.
It was terrifying. Anyway. I traumatized my own self
Trauma.
just with that conversation. But yeah, I am Tabletop Misfits. Thank you once again for coming to hang out with us at the tavern, where we bring guests in every week to talk about characters, worlds, and projects. Our guest this week, of course, was Boss Jellybean, who gave us a rundown of multiple characters and how she came up with those ideas. Hopefully, that helps you out with your next game or your next character. Of course, you can see me here every week on at 9 p.m. for another episode of Tavern Talks. If you want to see how I GM, which might be terrifying for some people, you can go over to Gen Con TV and you can watch me on Monday nights at 8 p.m., where I am known to be a GM that actually kills players, which is fun. So that's me. Next week, right before, it will be the last week before Gen Con. So next week will be our last Tavern Talks for about 2 weeks after that. I will have Distal's Place, a cosplayer, a game master, and we're going to talk about how he creates characters and how he creates worlds. So for episode 124, don't forget, come hang out with us next week. And of course, raise your glasses high. This is the last call. See you guys all next week on Tavern Talks. Have a good night.